3, 2, 1. We're hearing a lot of rumors and reports about how the Jets want to add a true cornerback one. So will we do that in free agency or the draft? In last year's season, the Jets' secondary was not bad. The safeties were terrible, but the cornerbacks were somewhat impressive. Guys like Brandon Eccles, who I thought did a phenomenal job and is not talked about enough. He did a lovely job. Bryce Hall did his thing. He got exposed a few times, but honestly, I don't think he's a cornerback one, and that's why I think the Jets are trying to find a true cornerback one. And then Michael Carter II, what a phenomenal player. I love that kid. He's going to be great. But how should the Jets attack finding a true cornerback one? Well, we have two pretty damn good first-round picks. We have pick number 4 and pick number 10. So a few players. Well, let's just name the 3 players that people are talking about getting drafted, or the best of the cornerback position. Those players are Derek Stingley out of LSU, Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, and Trent McDuffie. That is the guy who I think is very underrated. Now, out of the 3, I don't think we should take any of them at pick number 4. I think it would be a huge mistake taking either Sauce Gardner or Stingley at number 4. That would be an F draft in my opinion. But at pick number 10, it's not a terrible idea. Now, the one player that I wouldn't pick there out of the 3 is Derek Stingley. Too many injuries. Look, he had a great 2019 season, but he hasn't really been healthy yet. Ever since then, he hasn't been on the field, and the most important thing that you can add to a team is availability. And if that's not even going to happen, why are we using a premium draft pick on that type of player? Because listen, he could be phenomenal, but the risks outweigh the benefits. So I'd wipe him off the table, but Trent McDuffie I would absolutely consider there, and same with Sauce Gardner. I would be fine if we took any of those there. If not, we could potentially find another cornerback, not name those 3 because they're all going to get drafted in the first round. I think that's a pretty big guarantee. But we do have two high second-round picks, so we could invest there. So would I like it if we drafted a corner at 10? I would be fine with it. I wouldn't be overly optimistic, but if we could snag Sauce Gardner and Kayvon Thibodeau, man, that would be an A-plus draft. I would feel very confident about this Jets defense next season. I mean, seriously, that is a major upgrade, and there will be some growing pains year 1 if we do that. But I think both of those players, McDuffie or Sauce Gardner, could eventually be that cornerback one, probably next year for sure, because obviously as soon as a cornerback comes into the league, it's hard. It's a hard learning curve, but man, once they get past that, it's crazy. Look at Jalen Ramsey. The Jaguars invested a high first-round pick into him. He's a lockdown cornerback. He did get toasted a little bit in the Super Bowl, but other than that game, he's a reliable. And why I think the Jets could invest a premium pick into cornerback is because Robert Saleh, I remember it was his press conference, I think, someone asked him about the cornerbacks and what he looks for them. What he said is he looks for a cornerback that will show up and be able to play man coverage on third downs and lock them down. So based on that philosophy, we know he's going to go in man coverage like 99% of the time on third downs. If we added a Sauce Gardner or a Trent McDuffie, we would get a lot more stops, and that fits exactly what he wants to add to the New York Jets. You feel me? So I think that is how we could approach this in the draft if we do end up drafting a corner at pick 10. I wouldn't mind it, and I wouldn't hate it at all. I really wouldn't. Now, the other option is we could go into free agency. And thankfully for us, there are some very interesting cornerbacks that do somewhat fit our needs. I think the main guy that really calls out to me is J.C. Jackson, because one of the problems last season was we didn't force too many turnovers. Like, I thought our cornerbacks did a good job, but they didn't force too many interceptions towards the end of the season. And J.C. Jackson is a ball hawk. I mean, look at his interception numbers. 2020, he had over 10? He was crazy. So he definitely, in my opinion, he's a way better version of Trayvon Diggs. He's a lot better in coverage. Now, is he a true number 1 corner? That's a little bit debatable. I think he could still get better. And the Patriots there's a report that the Patriots don't want to bring him back. And he's upset with them right now. So not only would it be a great signing for us, but we would also be taking away from a division rival. And he knows the AFC East so well already. So that kind of gives him an upper edge when we play against the Dolphins and the Bills, for example. Another cornerback possibility is Carlton Davis from the Buccaneers. He is not a bad player at all. And if he doesn't get franchise tagged, he's going to have a lot of suitors because he's very young. and he played in Todd Bowles' defense, who commands a lot out of those corners since he likes to blitz a lot, so he relies on pretty tight man coverage, and he did a pretty good job considering that. So I think he would definitely be another player in position if they don't franchise tag him. That is a young player that could be a part of the future for a few years rather than a veteran. But if we do go with a veteran route, I think a player that would be amazing is Hayward Jr. Talk about an underrated season for a cornerback. I'd argue he was a top 5 corner in Las Vegas last year, man. He was phenomenal. I mean, crazy. He goes back to Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator, and he puts up outstanding numbers, even with the losses in the secondary. No Damon Arnett, because he literally got he got released from the team, so he's being asked to do even more. Does a great job. He fits a similar type of system. Gus Bradley runs a 4-3, same thing that Robert Saleh does, so there is some scheme continuity right there. And man, he played really well. Now, he would command a lot of money, probably a 2-3 year deal, so are we at that stage where we want to pay an older player that type of money where we think we're a cornerback away? I'm not sure, but if we could get him on a nice 1-year deal, I would absolutely love it, because he's a great cornerback and he would slot in as cornerback 1. He's a veteran, and he survived on his own on one-on-one coverage on third down. So I think he would be a great candidate. But cornerback will be upgraded a little bit this offseason, whether it's the draft, like I said earlier, or free agency. We don't know yet. And we have to wait until free agency, because once free agency happens, we'll know exactly. Because if we don't sign a cornerback, it's probably the draft. But if we sign one in free agency or 2, then I don't think we're looking to draft any in the upcoming draft. So I don't really think we could go wrong here besides picking Stingley at number 4 or any of the cornerbacks at 4. I think that would be a huge mistake, just considering that I would much rather take Ikem Ekwonu, even Kyle Hamilton, and especially Kayvon Thibodeau. So let me know, Jets fans, what do you think? Is cornerback a huge position that we need to upgrade? Do you think we will? If so, in either the draft or free agency? So let me know. I appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.